Welcome to the Retro Blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood as we continue our months-long discussion about creatures, slimy things, extraterrestrials, whatever, because It Came from the Sky month is in full effect, and we were rolling on for the Retro Blood. If y'all like slimy teeth sperm, if y'all like old ladies getting attacked by slimy teeth sperm, if you like weird acting, if you like a college film that we pretty much filmed it all to have the slimy teeth sperm in it, then this is the review for you, brother, because the Retro Blood is talking all about the deadly spawn. J. Alison, James Kline, what's happening, Alison? Have you gotten your deadly spawn on today?
I have, man. I've been looking forward to this. I've wanted you to watch this movie for so long, and now you were forced to for the show. So yeah, this is a classic.
This one was very interesting. I'll take a swig of my tea here. Like, okay, I get where they were going. And, like, to me, okay, like, literally, like I was saying in the beginning, this whole film was like, okay, we got a really cool looking, like, creature, all right, that, like, you know, was constantly slimy with super cool teeth, all right? What's else in the budget? That was it.
Nothing.
Oh, fuck. Okay, well, can you get grandma down the street can we just loan her for, like, a day so I can put this teeth sperm on her? Yeah, we can? All right, let's do it. We got a movie, brother. All right, we're good. All right.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw it. Was like they spent every dime they had making that monster.
Oh yeah, definitely, and it looked cool though. Like
it looked great.
I mean, that was pretty much the movie. Like I like that. Plus, I like the little clay house, you know, at the beginning and the end. I was like, "Is this Beetlejuice? House. What is this doing?" Like, we got a little clay house, you know, because it looks like, you know, obviously like one of those houses that you build. You know what I mean? They could do like little replica, and I thought that was pretty. I like that. I like that little part to it.
I don't think it's made out of clay. It's a little better than that, but yeah, it's definitely a model house that they're using at the beginning, at the end of it.
Oh, this is something, man!
Fantastic. This one is fantastic.
This one was something, and it was pretty interesting with what they were trying to accomplish with the marketing on this movie too, which is very hilarious also. But we got a lot to talk about when it comes to this Retro Blood, everybody. I hope you all been enjoying this month so far. Of course, me and Alison, last Sunday, we put out The Blob. Brother, what a great movie that was. Oh my God. Bro, these two movies are not even the same atmosphere, okay? But, you know, they're both, this one has a little bit of its charm. And then, of course, me and Alison also put out a special Lights Out. We came out with the Lights Out, where we kind of get out of the 80s horror month, talking WrestleMania 1 and our WrestleMania 40 predictions. So, obviously, it's been a week now, so we can see if me and Alison, let's see if we got our pulse on the WrestleMania 40 card, or if we totally sucked. And learned some stuff, too. So, but check that out all in the archives. But this episode, we got a lot to talk about. So let's get into the history segment. This film actually came out April 22nd, 1983, everybody. And when I was doing my research, which I always love to do, we've actually talked about this month a couple times already. Because when we did a couple movies around this particular month, one of them being The Hunger, all right, around this particular month. And I believe, I forgot the other one. But we did The Hunger around this particular month. And, you know, it's pretty popular. 1983. You can see a lot of the different filming styles that they had going on at the time. But a couple things we haven't talked about yet when it comes to the pro wrestling side. Because we have already, you know, in some of the episodes, we've already talked about the Jim Crockett Promotions when they had like a little loop through our hometown of here of Asheville and Greensboro. We did talk about the Super Sunday card with Hulk Hogan and Nick Bockwinkel. It was kind of hard for me to find some history on it because besides those two events, there wasn't a whole lot going on in April of the pro wrestling in 1983. But I did find something pretty interesting. I did want to ask you about this, Alison. Were you ever a wrestling magazine collector?
Not really.
Okay.
I remember. I think I've told stories about this several times, not about wrestling magazines, but about just magazines in general and comic books. But I would go to the grocery store with my grandmother, and I would just basically just like go to the magazine rack while she was shopping and just read magazines. And I remember, like, beside all the comic books, which I was obsessed with then and still today, they also had down at eye level where a little kid could reach them. They had Heavy Metal Magazine, Fangoria, and all of the wrestling magazines. So I remember like looking through like the wrestling magazines and like seeing wrestlers that I didn't know who they were, like because they were in other territories. Like I remember seeing Kerry Von Erich on the cover of Wrestling Magazine and having heard, heard of him from that, but I didn't know who he was because he didn't wrestle, for Crockett, which is the only thing I could watch. Or Kamala. I also saw him and thought he looked cool as shit. But yeah, so basically that's the extent of my wrestling magazine knowledge is just looking at them while my grandmother shopped for groceries.
Nice. And the other movie I was thinking off the top of my head, by the way, was City of the Living Dead. So check that out in the archives, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But I wanted to bring up Wrestling Magazine because around April of 1983, the WWF actually released their first ever magazine, all right, which was called World Wrestling Federation Victory. All right. So it wasn't the for a long time, and actually a year after this, it'd be known as the WWF magazine. Then we would go into like the WWE magazine. Then we go into Raw magazine. I don't know if they had a SmackDown magazine. They might have. But actually, for the longest time, when I started to get into wrestling around 1998, I was actually a really big, I was like a very super fan from like the jump. Like ever since I watched, the night after WrestleMania 14, I was pretty much hooked. And then part of my hookdom would be getting the wrestling toys and getting the wrestling magazines. Because, at that particular time, it's not like I could just jump on the internet and read all about my I probably could have, but, back in the day internet, it's a little slow. I liked the WWF magazine because you got to get a little bit more backstory on a lot of the characters and all the wrestlers. And I remember that was probably my first news source within wrestling, because since I was so new to all these characters, I didn't really know who a lot of them were. So, by collecting the WWE magazine, I got to learn a little bit more about some of the backstory, some of the history behind some of these characters. Now, obviously, it's all like, not all of it's going to be real history. You know what I mean? They might do like a real story here and there, but it was all like, in character. And, they had like biography pieces and stuff on there, really cool photos. I remember taking a lot of photos from the magazine and posting them on my wall. I was like super, right into the wrestling during that area. Like I had pictures of wrestlers on my wall, all kinds of stuff. And I still have some WWE and WWF magazines to this day, dating all of it. I think my oldest magazine I have is probably from 1998. So that's probably my oldest magazine that I actually have in my collection. But I got it all the way up until they almost start selling them. Like they pretty much got rid of it. I believe it was around like 2014. It was pretty recently when they actually got rid of the magazine. But I always remember like collecting them, and I think especially for this era the 80s and stuff, like, it's not like everybody would just, go down the corner stand to pick up the Wrestling Observer or something. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
And I'm pretty
sure. Do you remember?
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, do you remember the ECW magazine? I have most of those still.
Yeah, I got a couple of those. Yeah.
Yeah, those were awesome.
Like I'm saying, like the magazines, they, before people can just go on to like these, basically before podcast and before like, going on to the internet and reading stories, a lot of wrestling fans like myself didn't really know about that. So we would go and pick up the magazines hoping to get some scoops. And I do remember the magazines actually doing a little bit of scoops, because I remember when Taz was supposed to debut at the Royal Rumble, there was an article in one of the Raw magazines saying that Taz is coming to the WWF. And that's how I knew that Taz was going to debut in the WWF at the time. You know what I mean? So, obviously, people who read, maybe more of the outside of the bubble magazines, like the Pro Wrestling Torch or, Wrestling Observer, or even the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, might get a little bit more of the global aspect of the Wrestling Foundation, a little bit more like behind the scenes stuff. But, at the time when I was a kid, I didn't know any of that. So I just picked up the WWE magazine. So that's a little bit of the backstory I have with it. But it's very fun. Like, I always liked doing that. I always liked going to the store, paying a little bit of the money, grabbing one of those magazines, like reading every article and stuff. I highly enjoyed the magazine. And it's pretty cool that around when the Deadly Spawn came out, we not only could we have gone to the, well, I don't know what theater would be showing this, but if we would have showed up to the local 50 Cent theater, and then maybe at the stand they would have WWF Victory magazine with Jimmy Snuka on the front cover.
Nice. So he was on the cover of the first magazine.
Yes, he was on the cover of the first ever WWF magazine. Him and Don Morocco, because they were doing that blood feud at this time. But so here's some of the stuff that they have in the pages, which I think is pretty interesting. So when we open up the page number 4, we have Victory Mailbag. So brother, they want that's how they actually Alison, I want to talk to you about this too. I don't think a lot of people know this, but back in the 80s, brother, we didn't have phone, digital media and shit. You know what I mean? Like, mostly did your marketing, from television and magazines and billboards.
And radio.
And radio as well, too. But one of the gimmicks with the magazine is to do the mailers. You know what I mean? Like, you mail in some money and you can either get the magazine to your store, or you're mailing it in to be subscribed to the magazine. And a lot of promotions and stuff would kind of base their fan base off those mailer subscriber list, which is pretty cool.
So you mean like indie promotions?
Well, no, like any wrestling promotions too. Basically they would WWF might have been a little bit different, but a lot of territories, if they were selling magazines and stuff, from getting a prescriber list, they can kind of do some, research and see what market, based off people, wanting their product, of who they can actually market to. So a lot of times, if let's say you're going to have a local, a live event at your town, if you're subscribed to the WWF magazine, you would probably get a mailer saying, hey, thanks for being a subscriber. By the way, WWF's going to be in your town. This is Nate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the classic way of marketing things. You see where your mail comes from, and then you book a show in that place, and then send out a mailer telling people that, hey, look where we're going to be near your town.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Coincidentally.
Stuff. So we have lunch contest. Oh, okay. All right. We have Inside the WWF. What are the latest happenings in the WWF? Find out. All right. Respect or ridicule. Okay. We have WWF History Library. Learn all about wrestling and the past within the WWF. Journey back in time and discover some of the stars that made the Federation what it is today. So right away, I would have been all about this magazine.
Yeah.
So we have another page that has the champion Bob Backlund. He wears the belt proudly For over 5 years, the fans have flocked to see him in action. Now he's concerned. Uh-oh. And this wasn't a politician crazy Backlund yet either. This is the babyface All-American Backlund, brother.
Yeah, well, he probably should be concerned because not too long after this, Hulk Hogan would take his crown away.
Well, I think wasn't it Iron Sheik that beat him, right? And then
Iron Sheik did first, and then Hogan beat Iron Sheik. But it wasn't going to be. Was it 83 or 80? It was 84, right?
Yeah, Hogan beat him in 84.
So it'd be another year before Backlund would really be gone. But
pretty much.
But yeah, he was right near the end.
Right near the end, brother. We have the Carolina Bruiser. The Carolina Bruiser. Who is
that?
I don't know, but it's a fucking great name. Sergeant Slaughter's campaign. He calls the fans maggots and shouts orders. He lives for one wrestler. Find out who. Oh, okay. Victory pin-up number 1. Okay. Andre Pictorial. We have the Animal Stocks. Man, Beast, Missing Link. They all fit George the Animal Steel, a force to be reckoned with in the WWF. So as you can see, guys, it's a lot of like profile, like, about these superstars. That's why as a kid myself, I loved these magazines because they would teach me some backstories about some of these wrestlers that I was like totally brand new to. Look at this one, page 45. And just think about this, like fucking 1,000 years later. The Samoans reign supreme. Boy, you could have printed that one today.
It's like it's full circle, right? The Samoans are back.
Exactly. Those wild Samoans are now 3 in riding the wrestlers' waves of success. How long will it last? Bro, you could do that article today. That's wild. We have Latin in Manhattan. All right, Tito Santana, and he's back to stay. Arriba. And then we have, where did Lou Albano go wrong? The unexpected story of one of the wrestler's most controversial managers, a story told in part by his own family. Then we have Alison's favorite, the Polish Hammer.
The Polish Hammer, fantastic.
We have
fantastic wrestler.
Look at this one. This one could have went with the Deadly Spawn. We have the Invaders. And then we have Wrestler of the Year contest. So that was our whole magazine that we have on here. The first ever WWF magazine, brother, Victory. And it'll only be Victory for like a little bit because in around April or May of next year, 1984, that's when they switched it to WWF Magazine. So it was only Victory for a little bit. So I thought that was pretty cool piece of history on there.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's something that people don't talk about enough, or a lot of anyway, talking about, wrestling magazines. Because, now for people, magazines are like...
Oh, it's ancient. About that.
It's like ancient history. They're also, like, back then, magazines were affordable. Like, they were made to be consumed by people. Like you spent a few bucks on a magazine, and then you read it and threw it away. But, like, I've been, like, sometimes I'll go into, like, like when I go into like the grocery store, like, and I'm checking out, I'll see like magazines like around the cash register area. And like sometimes I'll see one that's cool. It'll be like, a magazine about the making of Jaws or something. Yeah. Or like the Beatles or something like I would want. And I'll look at it and magazines are like $12. And I'm like, why would I pay $12?
You know how much this magazine was?
I'm going to guess it was $1.50.
Very close. Super close. It was $1.82.
Oh, right. What a weird ass random.
I know that's what it says on here. $1.82. So, a little bit under $2, brother, to get this WWF Victory magazine. Yeah. That would probably be worth a pretty good penny now, maybe. Shout out also to Monster Magazine as well too, and Fangoria. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So those ones are still popping out here in the streets. I don't think I haven't looked for a WWF magazine in like ages or something like that. But when I have seen magazine stands and stuff, and at the bigger like Barnes and Nobles or whatever, I do check out the occasional Fangoria and Monster magazine as well, because those ones are still popping and they're still pretty fun. But yeah, it's just different, nowadays. A lot of people get their information, they'll get it from podcasts, they'll get it from websites and stuff. But, back in the day, man, when that stuff was not, available to you, I think the magazine industry, was very important for the pro wrestling industry. And it helped fans like myself kind of get up to speed with all these characters while making them money at the same time. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So everybody, if you see those magazines, go buy some. And like I said, shout out to the horror ones too, because those are actually still going, and they are still like a very fun source of information. Speaking of fun source of information, I think we've talked about this before, but we haven't gone in depth a little bit, and I thought this is very interesting. So we have talked about this band like 1,000 times, but they're very popular when it comes to the 80s. And that is one, Metallica. Okay?
Okay.
On this date, where the Deadly Spawn got released to all of us here in the United States, Metallica was playing a show in New York City on the exact date, April 22nd, 1983. Now, Alison, I want to ask you two questions about this this tour. So, first of all, this one right here, do you think after the show that they rushed to the movie theaters to watch The Deadly Spawn?
I'd like to think that they did.
Yes.
I'd like to think that they immediately left the show, went to 42nd Street,
yes,
and watched Deadly Spawn in a grindhouse. That's my fantasy booking for this.
Me too. While drinking beer.
Well, of course.
Yes.
Where was the show at? What venue?
It doesn't give me the venue on here.
Okay.
But yeah, I can't. Let me try to click on this really see if it does. Oh, here we go. Hold on. So it's in the Paramount Theater in New York.
Okay.
And
it was April
22nd, 1983. Newville, New York, or New York. The Paramount Theater. So what is interesting also about this tour, okay, is that I believe during April, this was the rare occasion that you can see Metallica with one Dave Mustaine still in the band.
Yeah, I was going to mention this. So this is probably having not done any research on this. So they went east because obviously Metallica's from California, but they went east when they were going to get signed to Megaforce Records. And the guy whose name escapes me right now, that started Megaforce Records, John Zazula, that's his name. He brought them out east because he heard them on that Metal Blade compilation, that Metal Massacre. So he brought them out there to play some shows. So they hadn't even released Kill 'Em All yet. It wouldn't be out for like 2 or 3 more months.
Yeah.
So their very first album hadn't even been released yet. But yeah, Dave Mustaine. This was probably the last shows they ever played with Dave Mustaine. I would imagine. I think they did these shows. They played these shows up in New York State, and then they kicked him out of the band and got Kurt Hammock right after that.
Yes, because I do believe, didn't Dave? He helped write some tracks on the Kill 'Em All, but he wasn't with the band when the album actually got released.
Correct. He wrote songs. They used songs that he wrote all the way up through Master of Puppets. He wrote a lot of Metallica songs. His contribution to Metallica is definitely understated. And they definitely have understated his contribution over the years. Not to say that, I like Kurt Hammock better actually as a guitar player, but they've definitely, understated what he contributed to the early version of this band. But yeah, he wrote a bunch of songs on this album. And I'm trying to remember when they kicked him out. They may have actually kicked him out while they were on this tour.
Yeah.
I can't remember because
it had to be it had to be a couple months after this. So I just sent you this photo. I want you to take a look at it. Mm-hmm. And this actually happened around that show in April 1983, and you can see they're staring a hole through each other and everything. You can see there's some tension.
Yeah.
It looks like there's some high tension between the two of them right there. But it couldn't be too much after this. That probably my guess is probably when this tour ended, he was already out of the band. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm thinking so because I know that now this is all just coming off the top of my head, so I can't, I haven't had a chance to research any of this, but I know that they kicked him out because he was just basically a drunk asshole, which is kind of weird when you hear about their, everything that would happen with James Hetfield and his history later on. Like, how much of a drunk asshole would you have to be to get kicked out of Metallica at this time? If he actually, I don't believe he actually played on the original version of Kill 'Em All, or maybe he did, and they redid his guitar parts with Kirk Hammett. So I don't know if a version was ever released with Kirk Hammett, with Dave Mustaine actually playing on Kill 'Em All or not, but it would be out a few months after this.
Yeah.
So apparently, what I'm seeing right now, just like trying to look this up, it looks like Mustaine was fired in April of 1983. So yes, so he in New York. That's what that's the story. Yes. So they fired him while he was in New York and sent him back on a bus.
Dang.
If I remember correctly. They
like,
put him on a bus to California.
Also. Damn.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine how long it takes to get to California from New York City on a bus?
Yeah. And it's not like the band was all like making, a shit ton of money at the time too.
No, they weren't making any money, probably. And then he basically so basically Kirk Hammett replaced him in New York. So they fired Mustaine in April of 83 while they were in New York. And then they flew Kirk Hammett out like the next day to replace him. And Kirk learned their songs like in 2 days or something. He had like 2 days to learn their songs. And then this is when they were going up to record the album. So basically they recorded Kill 'Em All. I'm rambling because I'm having to do this off the top of my head. But basically they flew Kirk Hammett out to play on the album, and they were in New York to record Kill 'Em All. And they fired Dave Mustaine, replaced him with Kirk Hammett, and Kirk just went in and played the solos on the album.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then everything else is history. So that's kind of, this was a historic month. So this month was like the month that created Megadeth, essentially.
Just thinking about this month, man, it's pretty crazy of all the stuff that we covered so far with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got the fucking Hunger out there with David Bowie being a goth guy. All right. We got Hulk Hogan versus Nick Bockwinkel. All right. We got fucking City of the Living Dead. You know what I mean? With all that wild shit on that movie. Plus we got a loop of JCW. Now we got some Teeth Sperm, and we got fucking Dave getting kicked out of the band and on the bus. Go home, asshole. You got to watch Deadly Spawn on your own.
Yeah, you gotta go by yourself to watch Deadly Spawn. We're gonna bring our friend Kirk from Exodus to be in this band.
Yeah, that's probably what he was pissed about. He's like, "Come on, guys, I want to see the movie before we go on the show."
Yeah, exactly. I want to see Deadly Spawn. You can't even bring me to see Deadly Spawn. What asshole?
So yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It's pretty crazy month so far here on the Retro, but I dig it. So, but yeah, man, obviously Metallica, one of the most famous bands in history, and that grudge is still there, I believe, isn't it? Between Dave Mustaine and Metallica. Maybe it's a little less now, but I know it's a little less for a long time. For a very long time. Basically Dave Mustaine created Megadeth just to spite James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich. Yeah.
Like his whole career was driven to basically outdo Metallica, which of course you could never do. You could never outdo Metallica. I mean, just the momentum that they were on, you could just never outdo Metallica as far as like sales and things like that. But he wanted to prove that he was just as good as they were, and I think that he did. Megadeth has made some really great music, and arguably more good music than Metallica has over the whole score of things. But I think they've kind of settled it somewhat. because in that movie, some kind of monster, they sit down and talk to him, and they talk it out somewhat, but James Hetfield isn't there, and Mustaine's like, yeah, there's still somebody here that needs, that we need to settle things with. But but they ended up playing some shows together when they did those Big Four shows. So I think that it's somewhat settled, but they're probably not still best friends or anything.
Yeah. Very, very, very interesting piece of metal history right there. So
heck yeah.
It's really cool because it's very interesting on that particular tour and date. It would spawn two of the biggest bands in heavy metal, which is of all time. It's crazy. So
pun intended.
And it all happened under the Deadly Spawn's watch. Can you believe it? Yes. I can't believe it, brother.
The right? Deadly Spawn spawned two of the biggest metal bands of all time.
Exactly. So we got. So now let's talk about who booked this shit, brother.
Yeah, who booked this shit?
Yeah, okay, so we have Ted A. Bohas. He was the producer. Okay. And he's actually produced two other horror movies, Night Beast. Okay.
Yes, which we're going to be doing on the show eventually.
Yes. And he did Fiend, where he acted as a producer. Okay, that was the first film he worked on. So and then our director is Douglas McKeown. And he did this movie, and let's see what else this guy did. Maybe this is his boy. Is this your highlight? Okay,
I think so. I think this might be it.
So I'm seeing this is no joke. Okay, I'm reading it as I see it. Everybody, it says publications and film. This is what he's done. He did The Deadly Spawn, 1983, and he did Queer Stories for Boys.
Yeah.
Oh, wow! What a career! How do you go from the? So he did the Deadly Spawn 1983. He did Queer Boys in 2004. Bam.
Yeah.
There you go, brother.
So basically, this guy did other things. Like he didn't really have a film career for the most part.
Well, I mean, did you watch the film?
I did. This movie's not bad. I mean, it was directed well.
So the Deadly film was shot in New Jersey on 16 millimeter film, and boy, you could tell. All right, the house in which the majority of the film takes place belonged to the illustrator Tim Hildebrandt. All right.
Yeah, so I was going to bring that up. So the Hildebrandt brothers are really famous fantasy artists. They created one of the probably the most famous thing they ever did together was they did the famous Star Wars poster, the original one, where Luke has the really big chest and he looks like a big fantasy hero with Princess Leia underneath him, and then he's holding up this lightsaber, and then you have Darth Vader's helmet behind him. Maybe we can post it on social media or something so people can see it. But it's a really, really famous Star Wars image, and they painted that. Yeah, and they also produced this movie.
Did they do the poster for the film too? Because it looks the poster looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean that looks like their art, so I'd imagine that they did. Yeah. Yes.
So a couple things. So producer Ted said that he conceived the idea of the Deadly Spawn in 1979, and that he was inspired by an article in the National Geographic about seed pods that were recovered from the Arctic. All right. So according to Boss, he created an initial creature design that involved a man in a suit, but associate producer and effects director John Dobbs was he didn't like that idea about that prospect. And then several days later, Dobbs returned with several alternatives, including the mother spawn that was eventually used in the film. So I guess the first outfit would bring some dude in a bodysuit with teeth all over him. That's what I'm guessing. Like that character from Channel Zero season 1.
Exactly.
So,
but they didn't. But that didn't work. So they created the animatronic version that they used, which, in my opinion, was much better.
Oh yeah,
would have been much better.
Oh yeah, the slimy teeth spawn, brother.
Yeah.
So actor and director Tim Sullivan got his start in film as a 15-year-old production assistant on The Deadly Spawn. All right.
So okay, hold the phone for a second. The production assistant on this movie was 15 years old.
Yeah, brother. We don't have to pay him.
That's the kind of budget that
all we gotta do is pay him candy and hot dogs. He'll be fine. All right.
That's what I was gonna say. Did they pay him in like baseball cards for this?
So
all right, fantastic.
There's an interesting trivia note too about Tim working on this. I actually learned this off when I was watching this film. I was watching it off Prime. Mm-hmm. All right, and like so, Prime is kind of cool. Like it'll have like different like trivia notes, and I think maybe I didn't take a screenshot of it, but okay. So one of the trivia notes was this guy Tim, right? He actually gave the dead mother's head. All right, that like the spawn was eating up. He actually gave that head. All right, he gave it to Gene Simmons. All right, of Kiss, yes. Mm-hmm. And he gave it to him during. I don't remember if it was during like an interview or doing something, but he gave it to Gene Simmons, and Gene Simmons still has that head, the head that was used in this film to this day, in his collection.
Well, that makes sense because Gene Simmons loves horror movies.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That makes perfect sense to me.
So if you're wondering where the head went, all right,
Gene Simmons has it.
Yeah, has it, brother. So Dobbs was the brother of Sullivan's art teacher, and Sullivan earned the chance to work on the film as a result of that relationship. So that's how he got it. All right. Among other tasks, Sullivan assisted in multiple of the main Spawn puppets, which is made of rubber and controlled from below by wires. All right. So like we were saying, most of it was filmed in New Jersey. So when it comes to the marketing, which I wanted to talk about this film, I thought this is kind of clever, but also kind of like deceiving at the same time. Okay. So what they did was, upon its release in some territories, the film title was changed to Return of Aliens, The Deadly Spawn. All right?
Man.
So they were trying to act like this was a fucking sequel to the 1979 acclaimed film Aliens.
Hell yeah, man.
Holy shit.
It's like, that's one of the reasons that I feel like we talk about old wrestling, old horror movies, and old heavy metal, because all of those things are carny as hell.
Yes.
And they'll do anything to get anybody in the tent. Just pay your 25 cents to get in the tent to see the freaks. And this is basically what this whole business is about. But yeah, so they were basically you saw Alien, you love that movie. Come see this. This is probably a sequel, maybe.
Okay, first of all, hold on a second here. I don't remember there being any teeth sperm in the fucking first Alien movie, first of all.
No, but you've already paid your 25 cents now, man.
It's true. Now I do remember there being a lot of that 80s liquid in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When that the one of the ship guys. It's been a while since I've seen Aliens, but the one of the ship guys is all like android.
Yeah.
So, but like it just yeah. That's definitely some carny marketing here, because there's no way that there's any relation to that Alien movie in this movie whatsoever. Okay.
No.
So another thing is also interesting too. I believe you sent me this earlier. Is Bojas, the director? He actually went on to produce the 1990 film Metamorphosis: The Alien Factor.
Yeah.
Which
is a sequel to Deadly Spawn.
Yes. Well, kind of.
Kind of.
So basically, what happened was this. Like, and I actually learned this off the little tidbits on the Prime thing. So apparently, they were gonna call it Deadly Spawn 2, but the name was like they were like, no, we're not doing that. Like the name is tainted. Okay.
Tainted. Because we saw the first one.
I wonder why. Because if they're marketing it to be Return of Alien from 1979 and you watch this shit, I mean, come on now. Like, I would have been like, no, the Deadly Spawn spawned me to yeah. I did not see the shit. Even though I personally enjoyed the film, but I could see where
I enjoyed it, yeah.
A lot of people, like, they would have been tricked. All right. So I think the testing the name Deadly Spawn 2 was like, okay, we can't do that. So what they did was they just used that metamorphosis, which was used in the Deadly Spawn to kind of like explain the slimy teeth sperm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thought yeah, very interesting. I do like the okay, some stuff I appreciate about this film for being a semi filmmaker myself is I like the low budget guerrilla style. And, you know, for a low budget guerrilla style movie, I mean, these creatures, the teeth, I call them teeth sperm, but they're like spawn or whatever. They looked fantastic. They look great.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those things where I talk about many times. Like most people that would make fun of this movie would just basically be saying, oh, haha, this is funny. They didn't have enough money. They did the best they could with the money that they had. And I think that is something that's commendable.
Yes.
You know, they spent, you know, they didn't have a lot of money or a lot of story, but they did, you know, they did the best they could with what they had. And I think that is a very heroic thing. And, you know, they put this out, they made a movie, and most of the people that would say this is cringy or corny or whatever, you know, all the you know, these assholes would say when they complain about something like this, have never made a fucking movie.
Yeah. And like, I did like it. Like, I was trying to figure out where all these old ladies came from. All right. And it had to be one of the people's grandma. Like, hey, grandma, can you just invite your sewing friends over? And can we just put some fake blood and this teeth sperm on you just for a little bit, just for an afternoon, please? And she's like, yeah, because like, there's no way they did multiple takes with this. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that question too, and I'll bring it up in a couple of scenes. But like it looks a lot of it just looks like it's first takes.
Yeah.
And this is like, okay, well, close enough. That's
go. That's what I got. And like, okay, so this is also too, which I think hinders the film, especially like nowadays, is the audio on this thing is pretty bad. But, you know, they probably just didn't have a lot of like audio devices, especially filming on the way they filmed it. But it definitely has some charm though. So, but Alison, everybody, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, it's definitely all just straight audio, live audio. They didn't, because now, I mean, as most people know, like they do ADR where they go back into a studio and then the actor re-records the voices. Which in this movie they clearly did not do that. This was all shot. This was all recorded right on set.
The editor's budget went into Teeth Sperm number 5. Okay.
Yep.
But everybody, let's get into it. Let's get into the full breakdown of the Deadly Spawn.
Let's do it.
What was that? First, there was the invasion of the body snatchers. Then there was Alien. Now there is the Deadly Spawn. It began with a meteor crashing to Earth. No one knew the mystery of the mutant spores it contained. Now they are free. They will grow and reproduce rapidly, eating anything and anyone in their path.
Learn something.
The Deadly Spawn. The nightmare is just beginning.
Hi.
What do you do when unknown terror surrounds you? What do you do when there is no escape? Nowhere to hide from being eaten alive.
What the was that?
The Deadly Spawn. They just keep multiplying like demon seed. The Deadly Spawn, extraterrestrial terror. They're full of surprises. And the best is yet to come.
Let me go! Let me go! There's no such thing!
Can anything nothing stop these strange creatures. The movie real science fiction fans have been waiting for. The Deadly Spawn wants you to see them at this theater soon. They need every person they can get. New from 21st Century Distribution. Rated R.
All right. So okay. So we start off the movie, right? There's no like, slow burn or, animated intro or, like even like a blank screen to latest. No, it's like 80s.
It just starts.
80s flash on the screen and two dudes in a tent tenting each other. I was like, first of all, is this the 80s Brokeback Mountain? Not, okay. Okay. I know, bad joke. Okay. But, all right, so these guys are camping in there, right? Mm-hmm. And, like, they hear the smoking flash, okay? So they go check out and they're like, basically they're like, oh, shit, it's a meteorite, right?
Right.
And, this is probably where the other part of the budget came from, is doing this scene, okay? And yes. So you'll like this one, Alison. So one of the guys, I believe his name is Steve. Well, one of the guys, their name is Steve. But then one of them was like, oh, shit, I got to take a picture of this. Let me go get the flash gun. And I was like, flash gun? What the? We going to shoot it with some flash? So apparently, back in the day, brother, I don't know if you know this, Alison and everybody, but they didn't have cell phones back in the day with lights on them.
They did not.
So you would have to get a professional camera, probably a Panasonic or something, and apparently you would have to use a flash gun, and the flash gun you would have to mount it on your camera to give you some light. All right?
Yeah, you would have to have a flash to be able to see anything.
I mean, the only flash gun I know about is that one that killed our boy in the... what's it called? The review that we did last month about it was the anthology story, Fright House. All right, maybe he's looking for that flash gun. You know what I mean?
Potentially.
So he goes in the tent and stuff, starts looking for it, and I guess the meteorite attacked his friend because he's calling out his friend, and he's doesn't hear him, and eventually he can't find the gun at all, and he's about to come out, and then he sees something. We don't see it, but he sees something go into his tent, and the thing he does unknown things to him in the tent, okay? But when he got out his hand, it was all bloody, and you'll like this too. So his hand goes on the pole, right, and it falls down, and I'm not, I'm not Mr. medical guy over here, but I don't think veins bleed from the front. You know what I mean? Like this guy, you could obviously tell that he had like a pump hand with blood coming out his hand. Okay, it just it looked pretty creative. So now we see the. I called it the clay background, but I guess it's like the model home background where we see like a little house next to a mountain.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's a model. It looks exactly like a model.
It'd be like one of those model towns you would do, in the back of your
like fucking, Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Like a Beetlejuice, yeah. Mm-hmm. So now it's raining. All right, and we had this couple, they're sleeping, and they wake up, and they are pretty much, I guess when it rains at this house, like a lot of the power goes off, so the guy needs to go check downstairs about the power. And
that does happen at old houses.
Yeah. And they're basically saying, like, the rain ain't going to stop our day and stuff, and he needs to go look around this house. This one was a little confusing. All right, about how the structure at this house works, but I think I got it. So we can see that the window to the basement has been open. Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
And then the guy, he goes down there, and he's like, look, basically the place is flooded, right? And I like it where he like originally goes down there in slippers, and he's like, oh, no, I'm going to need my flood boots, Like, there's a lot of this movie that's like, we got to do like extra. We got to show extra stuff. Like, oh yeah, it's flooding down there, so let me go take the time to put on my flood boots. And I like it where he put on his. I don't know if you caught this, Alison, but he put on his flood boot, boot, with his sandal on.
No, I didn't see that. So he didn't take his sandal off.
No,
he just put the boot on.
Now I'm not Mr. Flood Boot over here, but I don't think that works that way.
No. I don't think you put your sandal inside the rubber boot.
So he's down there now, and then now he's getting attacked. And this one is, I can respect this scene because he's getting attacked. And basically what we're doing is we're taking our prop guy, which is probably the 15-year-old, what's his name, Sullivan. And he's like, listen, guy, I need you to grab a bucket and just throw blood on the wall. Okay? And then we get a bunch of scenes of that, of somebody with a bucket throwing blood on the wall. Okay?
Yeah, sure.
And then we got the blood on the light bulb too, which is always a good effect. So while this is happening, the wife is now making some food for the cat. All right, and she's calling out for the husband, and eventually she goes downstairs. And this is a very long scene of her checking out everything, and she finally discovers the blood on the walls. All right, and she sees the one flood boot that's off. And Alison, I want to ask you a question, if I may.
Sure.
So let's say you're in a house, right? And you're looking for somebody down in the basement, okay? Mm-hmm. And you're going down there, and you're walking around. You can see it's flooded in there. You see a flood boot. You see a bunch of blood on the walls, and you see blood on the light bulb. All right. Would you? And here, what was the first thing you would say? Would it be A, fuck, I gotta get the fuck out of here, there's some crazy shit going on? Or would you be in the most calmest manner, what is going on here?
Well, I mean, I know what you want me to say, but I mean, honestly, you might investigate that. Like, if there's blood somewhere, you might be like, whoa, where did this come from? Because you don't expect there to be deadly spawn aliens in your basement, right?
Or it could be some sort of killer. Or killer rat, brother.
Could be some kind of killer. Yeah, true.
So this part was pretty awesome. So then she's like, she's saying, what's going on here? And then she sees the teeth monster. All right. And it just rips her fucking face off. Oh, shit. And like the killing scenes. All right. These are pretty well done. Okay. So props up to all the killing scenes. And then we have another lady waking up screaming now. Well, she's not really waking up screaming. We can hear screaming from the TV. Okay?
Yes.
So this is when we start getting some of our characters on here. So this right here is Aunt Millie. All right? And she is getting woken up by her nephew, I guess. Charlie. All right? And our boy Charlie, his gimmick is he is really into monsters and Monster Mask and watching monster-style movies.
Yeah, much like Tommy from Friday the 13th.
Exactly. I mean, there you go, brother. They're one and the same. Maybe they're long-lost cousins. Who knows?
Yeah.
So she's basically telling him to turn off that stuff and come down and eat some food. Okay? And then we could see that he is all about his mask and everything. All right. And so now we meet Millie's husband. Okay. I believe his name was Sam. All right. And this guy. So did you get a good look at this guy, Alison?
What do you mean? Did I get a good look at him?
So I was looking at this guy, and he looked like he was playing fake old. Like he looked young in the face, but he looked like he was like playing to be an old guy. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because he had
yeah.
It just looked fake to me. He looked like a younger guy, but he was trying to portray an older guy. Because he did have the skullet going on. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just really weird. And then we also we're meeting the brother of Charles, Pete. All right? Mm-hmm. And you know what Pete likes to do there, everybody? He likes to call his friends in his underwear, all right, and talk about science.
He does. Yeah. There's a lot of science talk in this movie.
So he's all saying the rain ain't going to stop him, all right, from studying. And he's like, you're going to come over here today, Frank, all right, and bring that girl with you. Kathy. Bring her too, brother. All right? And by the way, I'm not in my underwear. I mean, technically, I could be in my underwear right now doing this podcast because we're not on video yet. So
right.
Maybe I'm like our boy Pete.
Yeah. That's the good thing about being an audio podcast. We can be in our underwear and, nobody would know.
Yeah. So there you go. So now the biggest thing now is we see a door, okay? And the door is basically, it was, so what happened was there's a letter on there, and the letter is actually from Sam and Barb. Sorry, Sam wasn't the old guy. I'll get his name later once I find it. So Sam and Barbara were the two people that died at the beginning of the film, okay? And there was a letter on there saying they're going to be out for the whole day, okay? Because they had to do some sort of emergency something for the whole day. And they actually have their the aunt Millie's there, and then Uncle Herb is the guy I was talking about who looks like the fake old guy, okay, with the glasses. So they're just in town visiting, okay, for like a week or something, and they're looking over Sam and Barb's two children, which is Charles and Pete. We got all that? Okay. And none of them decide to go to the basement. So they just think that Sam and Barbara just went out because of the note. So now they're talking. Now the whole big part of this scene where everybody's eating food together is Uncle Herb wants to talk to Charles privately later. All right, which I'll tell you why here in a bit, which is interesting. And Pete is going to be going off and studying. Okay, and he's just waiting for his friends to come on by. And they're going to be doing it, studying around 6 or 6:30. Okay. So now the uncle is talking to Charles now. Okay. So this is pretty interesting, and so I bet apparently the uncle Herb and stuff, he is a child psychologist. Okay. And he wants to figure out why Charles is so into monsters and monster mask and stuff, because, we got to figure out all this stuff when they're young as a child so he can present that to his child, course or whatever. And so he's asking him all these questions. Oh, why do you actually like horror movies? And the guy's like, I don't know, I like them. Well, what's the deeper meaning behind them? Like, what's there? Charles like, I don't know, I just like it. It's like back and forth this whole time. And Alison, I don't know if you catch this either, but he did call. All right. He they did call Charles at one time the lunatic fringe, and I was like, no shit. Dean Ambrose is here, brother. What the hell?
Dean Ambrose, yeah, because they created that for sure.
Oh god, that was funny. So now also to the wife, Millie, she has to go visit the mom of her and Barb, okay? So she puts up a note for the electrician, all right, to go down into the basement when he gets there, okay? But, we also got a lot more talk of the uncle and Charles, and he basically, he's asking him about nightmares, he's asking him about, dressing up in scary costumes, he just wants to know more about this. Okay, and he's basically saying, like, hey, later on, can you show me one of your costumes so I can do some research about it? And it's okay. So now the electrician shows up to the basement, and Charles sees this, and his first idea is to scare the electrician down in the basement with his monster mask. We have a young.
Nothing could go wrong with that.
Yes, exactly. We have a young haunted house main attraction guy coming up here soon. Okay. So now Charles is going down there. Obviously it's very wet, and it's very dry and stuff. And he's looking all around, and he, comes across the blood on the walls and everything, and he sees that the power box is actually sparkling a little bit. He sees all the blood on the walls, all right, and he can see that there's a small amount of water on there, and he actually now sees a moving dead hand, all right, and then when he does this, he can now see the deadly teeth monster right in front of him, and he kind of like stays there like very still, and then now we can see that the deadly teeth monster has now spawned teeth sperm everywhere.
Teeth sperm.
Yes. I mean, that's what I called them.
Yeah.
What did you call them?
The little things swimming around in the water.
Yeah. What did you call them?
I didn't call them anything, but teeth sperm is as good a name as any for them.
Yes.
I actually thought these looked really good.
Yes.
Like whatever effect they used for when they're like swimming around in the water in the basement. I think that looked really, really good. I think the effects on this are actually very
Oh yeah. And so now we actually get one of the most fucked up scenes in this movie. Okay. So
Yeah.
Charles is there and he sees his teeth sperm. He's scared as shit now, or he's actually excited. We can't really tell because he has kind of like just a regular looking face on him right now. But then he sees his dead mom's head. All right. And then we could see that one of the teeth sperms is eating the skin off his dead mom's head right there. And I was like, well, this kid's fucked up for life now. All right. I was like, fuck. So now, during all this, both of Pete's friends show up, Frank and Kathy. All right. And they're coming over, and they have something to show him. They want to show Pete something that they found on their way there. And what they found on their way there was a dead teeth sperm. Okay? And they can't really figure out what it is. They just think it's like maybe a nasty tadpole. One of them says it might be a dead fish with teeth. All right? But
this is the scene where they're just constantly.
Yeah,
it's the two guys and the girl, and they're constantly talking about science, right?
Yeah, they're just like trying to figure out why, because they basically it kind of looks like a tadpole, but it has like scales on it, and they can't really figure out the scales and shit.
Right, like she'll say something, and then like the dumb guy will be like, "You mean like this?" And she's like, "No, it's like this." And then he's, "You mean like this?" I'm like, "No, it's like this."
Yes.
This thing that, and this goes on forever. But yeah.
So the biggest thing about all this really is, so Pete, he's all about the science. All right. Yeah. It's like, if science says it's this, brother. Okay. If it's not this, we don't know about it. It's not real. And then the other two were like, well, okay, well, like sometimes, science can't explain everything. And Pete's like, no, yes, it can. All right.
Yeah. He's the one that's saying that it's impossible for something to come from outer space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is definitely not true. Okay.
Yeah, which is kind of weird that a scientist, quote unquote, would think that that's impossible.
Exactly.
But, it is what it is.
So, let's see. So now Charles is down there too with the teeth sperm and everything. And I guess he notices if he stays still, nothing really happens. But he notices when he snaps his fingers that they can hear sound. So the teeth sperm, obviously they don't got no eyes, but they can, I guess they can hear sounds. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to kind of figure out how to get out of there. All right. So the teeth one's kind of closer to Charlie, and then Charlie throws his flashlight. Okay. And now we have Kathy. She's dissecting the teeth sperm. Okay. And did you? I don't know if you noticed this though, but they show her dissecting it, and then we come back later, and the thing looks like 10 times bigger. And I dissect it.
Yeah. Well, the dissection scenes are kind of cool, where they're cutting it open with the razor blade. That shit looks cool.
So Millie has now arrived to her mom's house. I am not going to recap the conversation that Millie had with her grandma because I could not hear anything because the audio sucked. Okay. Yes. So, but we can see that outside, the teeth sperm have gone out of the basement of the child's house, and they're on the land now. Okay, and some of the teeth sperm are actually in the grandma's house now. Okay, so you know, like we talked about before, they're going on and on about how stuff can come from outer space. That's what Pete does. Like his big thing is like he's like, now this is like you were saying, he can't believe something would come from outer space. It's like all science based, and the other two are kind of like saying, well, you know, maybe think about it more. Maybe, you know, something like that can happen. So I like this part too. So they argue, right? And then they all kind of like disperse. And then Pete talks to Kathy. It's all like, hey. You know what I mean? Like, I know you found some teeth sperm over there, but are you going with Frank? She's like, what are you talking about? He's like, are you going with him? And I'm like striking this, like, going where? Like, we're going to the space? The science museum? What are you talking about? And she's like, no, I'm not going with him. I knew what they were saying, but I was like, you know, they don't use that term nowadays, going.
No, that's like definitely like a 1980s term that I can remember people using when I was a little kid.
Yeah,
like that when they were going together.
Yeah,
that's really weird for me to hear, but yeah.
And then like she says something like sarcastic, and then they just start kissing. I'm like, okay, there you go. So now, this is actually this is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. And at first it wasn't, but then it became my favorite scene. So the grandma and Millie, they're all like, you know, I guess during in the rain or whatever, the grandma is inviting her crew. Okay, yeah. her let's make
her
meals,
old lady crew.
Old lady let's like make meals for everybody crew. Her potluck crew, the potluck crew, brother. Okay, yeah. To the house. All right, and
great.
We can see that the teeth sperm was in the drain. Like near the lettuce and stuff, and you think
underneath the cilantro.
You think he was going to attack, you know, her, but you know, we can also see that the teeth sperm also likes water, so that's another hint. Okay, So everybody brings their food over, they're all smelling and stuff, and then now we can see that the teeth sperm got into the processor. Okay.
Yeah, the food processor.
The food processor
where she's making the soup or whatever.
Yeah, she's making some sort of like dipping sauce. Okay.
Oh, that's what she is making a dipping sauce.
Yeah, she was like, okay, well, I put a new ingredients in it. This dipping sauce.
Which is one of them is a tooth sperm.
A teeth sperm. So she kills the teeth sperm in the processor. And they're feeding
so she doesn't hear it making that noise. Like she turns it on and it's like
she's too busy, bro.
Like she's like chopping it up. She doesn't hear that shit at all.
Yeah, they're too fit. They're too busy on the meal ahead. All right, bro. When old ladies see meals, brother, they're all focused. Okay.
And that one lady was like had that weird accent, like the dark haired lady, and she's like, yeah, I'm making my stew or whatever. Yeah. She's like, you mean your tomato and lentil stew? And I'm like, what a weird ass way to talk.
Exactly.
It's like this weird fake accent.
So they all start eating the teeth sperm lettuce sauce.
Yeah.
And I swear I would have done this, but they didn't do it. They're all eating it and they're all like had this like nasty look on their face. I was just waiting for somebody saying, oh my God, this is delicious. But they didn't do it.
No.
They're all like looking like it's hurting their stomach. And then we can see that there's one of the teeth sperms is about to get grandma's leg. All right. So we cut and then we cut back and it attacks her fucking leg. And then we can see teeth sperms all around the house and everybody's freaking out. There's a teeth sperm on the fucking mom's cheek and shit. I was like, this scene is fantastic. Holy shit.
Like when they're all standing on the couch and then they're like, so one thing that I thought was great about this movie is that they did a really good job of hiding weaknesses.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, obviously the little baby deadly spawn, the teeth sperm, as you call them, are hand puppets. It's clear that they just made a rubber hand puppet and that the guy's hand is inside them when they're, like, chomping down on things. But they do a really good job of hiding like his hand and hiding his arm and like this scene in particular where they're you can tell that there are people underneath the couch or like behind the couch reaching under the couch so that you can see like the little T-Spawn's head pop out underneath the couch and chomp down on their legs and stuff.
Yeah.
But it looks good because they hide all the weaknesses. I just think that's really cool. It's just a cool way to. It's just cool, good. It's cool, low budget filmmaking.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. Because now all that shit would be CGI and it'd look fake.
Yeah, all this bullshit. Yeah,
but this looks pretty real. I mean, it looks real as you can look on the budget that they had.
And I did like the one that was attacked like on Grandma's leg and they were trying to like pull it off and stuff, and it's like wiggling around. I was like, yeah, buddy, that's fucking awesome. But
fantastic.
like they're all getting attacked. There's like all T-sperm everywhere, right? And then Millie gets off the T-sperm off the grandma and everything, and then they all just like leave in the rain, go in the car, and that's it. That was funny.
We need to talk about the rain at some point because in some parts of this movie, I'm pretty sure they're just using either a sprinkler or a garden hose.
Oh yeah,
to make the rain.
So during all this, Charles, he is still in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he ain't leaving there anytime. All right. And now the kids are like, they want to figure out where Charlie's at, okay? Or they're like, no, they actually want to show Pete's uncle what they found out about the T-sperm that they dissected. And they go bring it to him. And then when they bring him in to him, Uncle Herb's already dead with T-sperm coming out of his eyes, which is another cool scene. And then they all start freaking out. And you can see like all the T-sperms like coming out of his body and everything. I was like, okay, there's some crazy shit going on over here. So they start running around and stuff. And then during this, they can see that the big T-sperm is now upstairs now. Okay, and now it's trying to follow them throughout the whole room. All right, and they're stuck in the room, right? And Pete is trying to comfort a little bit Kathy and everything. All right, and then now they're like figuring out, oh shit, where's Charles? Okay, and then Charles is the only smart one in the film because he knows that the T-sperm are attracted to sound, so he turns on the radio and he creates like a booby trap. Now he doesn't go full Home Alone yet, but he's getting there. Okay.
Yes.
So he turns on the radio, and the radio kind of like blows up a little bit, and it kind of sets the T-sperm on fire. But it doesn't really do a whole lot to it. It wasn't as much power that he needs, but he gets that idea for later. So now all the grown-up kids are upstairs, right? And they hear a door. Okay. And basically what it is their friend Bunny comes.
Bunny.
Yeah.
Bunny's fantastic.
And she just comes up to the fucking house and up to the room. All right. And she's like knocking like, hey, what the hell are you guys doing? She just lets herself into the house and goes up to the top of the room. They're all like looking out, freaking out. She turns around. She sees the giant teeth sperm. She freaks out. She comes in there, and her one line was great. She's like,
what the fuck is this?
What the fuck is this?
That's in the trailer, and it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah?
Like that dude. That is such a. That was fucking brilliant. That was good writing. Right? Yeah. I love that. Where she sees it, she's like, "What the fuck is this?
What the fuck is this?" So now they like argue at each other, like all freaking out and shit. Okay. So now they're trying to figure out how to escape. And Pete kind of comes up with the idea. It's like, well, maybe if we can make it downstairs, we can get out of here. Maybe we got to go by the roof or something. But they have to go out.
Okay.
Kind of.
So I have a couple questions.
All right.
One, maybe I missed this in this complicated story, but have we discussed Bunny before? Or did she just show up? Like, do they talk about her before in this movie anywhere?
See, I don't know because they might have had okay. Look, listen, guys. The audio was a little tough in this film, so I got as much as I could out of everything. I do remember Pete at the beginning talking about Kathy, but I don't remember hearing Bunny. The only time they might have mentioned Bunny is Bunny might have been the girl who like Frank was like actually going with, besides Kathy. That's the only thing I can think of.
Maybe because he does talk about that. Because remember, we kind
Yeah.
of skipped that scene, but he went in the scene where, well, we didn't skip it, but in the scene where he asked if they're going together, he does tell her that he would rather go wherever they're going with this other girl.
Yeah.
But I don't remember if it being Bunny though. I thought it was someone else. But yeah, it's almost like when they were making this, Bunny, like whoever played Bunny was like came in the middle of production and they're like, "Do you want to be in our movie?"
Yeah.
Like, you're a pretty blonde girl. Do you want to be in our movie? We'll just write this scene for you.
Yeah,
we'll
hell
write
yeah.
this part for you.
I'll show
That
it.
has nothing to do with anything else. My other question is, why do they think they need to go to the roof? Like,
Okay,
why
hold
don't they
on,
just
hold on.
go out the front door or the window or any other thing instead
Well,
of getting
hold on.
trapped into the attic?
Hold on. So the window doesn't really have like the window in his room would just go straight down. There's no like balcony. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So I think the plan was Pete was like, okay, we got to go down like to a different room. Okay. And then
Yeah.
that room has like, you can get on the attic that way. And then from the attic, we can get down and get out that way.
Okay.
So
All right, fair enough.
it was like, he had to kind of have people agree to come with them. So he I guess he had Frank and Bunny agree to like run out there with them. But I guess they were going to have Kathy stay behind because she was too scared. So that's basically what
guess.
happened. All three of them run out, right? And then the fucking monster just breaks through the fucking door and kills Kathy.
Yeah.
Like bites her fucking bitch's head off. And throws her out the fucking
It
window.
throws her out the window.
I was like, what?
Oh,
What happened here? What a plan. All right. And then Pete's on, and then they all separate. And Pete, Bunny and Frank, they lock themselves in a different room. And then fucking Pete gets on the roof, and then he sees his dead girl's fucking body on the floor. He's like, "Oh fuck, I fucked up."
when I saw the scene for the first time and it showed her body on the ground,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's like a really realistic mannequin. And then they show a close up of it, and you can tell it's the actress, but they put something over her head, so it would look like her head was missing, like it's like a piece of like shiny, like supposed to be something that flew out of the window, I guess, but like there's a piece of shiny material where her head would be, and the actual actress was laying there. But yeah, that was fantastic. They leave her behind because she's too scared to get on the roof, and then the alien comes in and kills her and throws her ass out the window. That was fucking great.
So
And
during
Pete's like,
during this too, like Pete also realizes that his mom and dad's car is still in the garage. Okay.
Yeah.
And so like I think like not only is he realizing that his girlfriend's dead, but he's also thinking like, oh shit, something happens to my mom and dad as well too. So now Frank and Bunny, okay, they are looking around, and then eventually they see, or I believe it's Bunny that sees the dead Kathy through the window, and they all start freaking out, and then they eventually just drag Pete's body inside the window with them, and they said like, hey, if we can get out of here, we can grab the keys. And he's like, well, we can't grab the keys because my parents had the keys and I don't know where they are and our car's still there. Okay. So now Pete, he's determined to get, he's off his walker now. Pete is, he can't handle this stuff because his girlfriend died. Okay. He sees his parents' car. He doesn't know about them. His little brother could be all missing, and his brain is rocked because science is not like this. There's no scientific explanation for Teeth Sperm killing his family. Okay?
No.
So he's running around the house now. They have to follow him now, and he doesn't think all these Teeth Sperms are real. That's where I wrote in my notes. All right. So then after all their arguing shit, because, they're making noise, the Teeth Sperm crashes through the wall.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And then Charles is not... Now Charles, he has stepped up. He's fully home alone now. Okay? So he starts
he's ready to take on the monsters.
Exactly. Because we have to have that smart monster kid on here. Okay? So, by the way, I believe there was a poster inside of Charlie's room, which was the original Tales from the Crypt movie. So I like the...
I forgot to bring that up. Yeah. So there was the original Tales from the Crypt poster in there.
Badass.
And also a Frankenstein poster. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, the Frankenstein one too. Yeah, I was like, this kid got some good taste, man. He got some good taste.
Oh yeah, he does.
So now Charlie, he is creating this this booby trap. All right, pretty clever, pretty interesting booby trap he's doing here. So he grabs one of his masks, right? Mm-hmm. And he puts it on like a stick. All right. And
yeah,
I'm not sure what the device he used, but it needed to be plugged in. And I just, for some reason, that was like cracking me up that we're making like this deadly thing to capture this teeth demon, but it has to be plugged in to a house that supposedly doesn't have any electricity in it because the fucking electrician died and the power box was out. But this one plug-in thing is going to work.
Yeah, I was a little confused about this myself. I'm not 100% sure what he was using. So isn't the head had wires in it, right? Yeah. So I think that the head had like animatronic like movement to it, and he cut the head off, or he took the head off of whatever it was on, and then he used that ski pole thing to put it on there. And then his plan was he was going to plug it in after the monster ate it, and then it was going to electrocute the monster. But I'm guessing that that's what it was, but they don't really tell us that or explain anything.
Well, they did show us the bottle of Zap Potion.
Zap Potion, yes.
Yeah. Have you ever used some, some Zap Potion on some...
I've never used that
some teeth sperm before? Okay.
No.
See, they should have just used that in the original Alien. Everything would have been okay.
I know.
Where was Charlie? All right.
Exactly. If Charlie had been an alien, then
I mean, fuck. He would have all survived. Come on now. All we need is a smart kid. We got it all good. All right. So now now he's lowering the teeth sperm to him. Charlie is with movement. All right, and this is a very long scene. Eventually, the teeth grabs onto it, but now Charlie he cannot plug it in.
Yeah,
he can't plug in. He couldn't use D batteries, brother. We got to plug that shit in. Okay.
Well, the funny thing about that is he's pulling the cable or the plug in out of from the monster's mouth, and then he realizes it won't reach, but he just so happens to have an extension cord in his pocket.
Yeah.
Just in case something like this happened, he had an extension cord in his pocket, but then also the extension cord won't reach.
Yeah, it won't reach either.
It's like this continuous creation of suspense. Like it's like, okay, so let's do something else to make sure that it doesn't work. So then he's like still trying to get it with the extension cord.
So while he's plugging into, mini teeth sperm attacks him.
Yes.
Or he gets bitten in the shoulder by it and stuff. He's trying to, and then our boy Charlie, because he's the smartest person on the film, the mega teeth sperm is about to bite him, but he turns around and the mega teeth sperm bites the mini teeth sperm.
Yeah.
And some sort of cannibalistic alien creature stuff.
Yeah. Is there a reason this happens?
For suspense. And we had that extra medium. We had that extra medium teeth sperm. He was there.
Right, because he was going to get killed by this, growing teeth sperm, and then, but then the main one comes and kills it and eats it for some reason.
And then now he has enough room to plug it in, brother. Plug it in, and he plugged it in, and then the thing blows all up. All right,
explodes everywhere. It was great.
Yes, and now Charlie looks over his deadly work because he's going to be a new killer. Of teeth sperm.
He's like the teeth sperm killer. That's what the sequel should have been.
I know.
It was like Charlie,
crazy,
attacking and killing teeth sperm.
Yeah, he would have been like he would have been like Cable from X-Men.
Wow.
What he would have done was he would have created himself a time machine to go back in time to when the first teeth sperm landed and try to destroy it with his Cable-like powers now. Kind of like Terminator, if you think about it.
Kind of like Terminator, yeah. Except completely different.
Yeah, with teeth sperm. So I don't know what was going on with this ending scene. Like, it looks like they just okay, we got a bunch of extras. have them move around like some stuff is happening.
Well, no.
Yeah.
So okay, you could be right, but I thought the ending of this was based on the ending of Night of the Living Dead, where the main action ends, and then you have like scenes of them like burning and killing the Teeth sperm that are left.
Yes, that's what they were doing basically.
Yeah. So like they're just, so I guess that they like, you know, I guess the town, it invaded the town, and the townspeople are, you know, trying to kill the rest of all the deadly spawn that are left.
Yeah. So that's what they're doing. They're basically hunting down the Teeth sperm and killing them.
Yeah.
We see like these like cops and ambulance drivers taking all the kids to the hospital. We can see Bunny and Frank. They're in like some sort of cop car going to the hospital. Millie shows up. She can see that Pete's all fucked up now. Then she sees Charlie, and you know, Charlie he slowly goes to the cop car. You could tell that he's probably gonna be fucked up later on in his life because he's gonna turn into Cable.
Yes.
And the cop is talking about. So now we cut to this difference. It's nighttime now, and there's this other cop saying like, you know, they're finding different sizes of the Teeth sperm all around the town, but they've been killing them all off. Okay. And this is still, it's at nighttime. It's right by the house. It's right by the whole Charles's house. And then he hears something in the ground, right? And he's looking worried and stuff. So he puts his ear up to the ground. And then no shit, we cut to the model house.
The clay house again.
The clay house. And the clay everywhere. And then we could see that the big mountain that was right next to the house is now turned into a gigantic Teeth sperm.
Well, yeah, there's a giant one underneath the mountain. So, and then it comes up to, so the nightmare is not over.
It's not over yet. And then we're going to get a sequel that we can't, you know, use this storyline with, but it has to be something different. Have you ever seen that sequel?
No, I haven't.
I haven't seen it either. It was in the 90s and stuff. So, and then we got the whole credits. And then at the end, there was like something about like, "Don't worry, Gary" or something like that. It was like totally random saying at the end.
Gary is Tim Hildebrandt's brother.
Wow.
So the Hildebrandts were Gary and no, it's not Gary. It's Greg. Never mind. Forget I said that.
Yeah.
It's Greg Hildebrandt and Tim Hildebrandt.
I mean, I don't know. It was just maybe I don't know. Something happened with that line. It was just there at the end of the credits. But yeah, everybody, that has been the Deadly Spawn.
Yeah.
Not a horrible film. I mean, it had a couple like boring moments, but I thought the actual killing and the effects were really good.
Yeah.
In this film.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing really wrong with it is it doesn't have a ton of story. Like, there's just not a lot of story there.
Yeah.
But and there's no reason for anybody to do any of the things they do in this movie, and they also don't really explain where any of the deadly spawn come from, except they're from space. But I mean, I think this movie's great. I mean, I think that for what they had to work with, they did a really good job with it. It looks good. The soundtrack is fantastic, where they used the theremin to make it sound like a 1950s monster movie. I thought the soundtrack was great. I thought the gore was fantastic. The special effects were good. Yeah, I mean, and you know, the acting is not great, but for what they had, it was fine. But yeah, I like this movie, and I think that this movie should be celebrated. Like, this is a good movie.
Yeah, very fun. I'd say it's a very fun movie. You know what I mean? Definitely pretty fun. And like I said, like the biggest thing about it, you know, the way they made the actual teeth sperm looking spawn monsters, I thought they looked fantastic. And I liked it how they were always had saliva on them, which is great.
Yes, always. You have to add that goo to make it look realistic.
Exactly.
On your rubber monster. So let me ask you, had you ever heard of this movie before I suggested we watch it?
So I think I've heard about it before, and I remember seeing the actual monster look-alike about it, but I mean, I couldn't have picked it out of a category, so.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely fun, though. I liked it, though. But yeah, definitely one for the record books for this one.
Yes.
But speaking
Watch
about
Deadly Spawn, people.
Yes, speaking about something I haven't seen before and I'm looking forward to, next week here on the Retro Blood, we continue It Came from the Sky month, because we're going to be talking all about Time Walker
Yes. Have you heard of this movie? Have you
No.
ever heard of this movie before?
I don't know anything about this movie. Nothing.
Okay, so the history with me in this movie is that I remember renting this movie on VHS when I was a little kid. So it's great. I mean, it's great. It's about a time traveling alien.
Oh, okay. Like our boy.
So it's
Yeah. He's like the alien
time
version of
travel and alien movie.
Cable. Oh, got a little bit of both.
Yes.
All right. There you go, everybody. So join us here next week for Time Walker. And, of course, check us out in the archives. I know you guys have been listening to a lot of past episodes here on the Retro Blood. Those are always fun. I know our Friday the 13th is getting a lot of love, so I hope everybody's been enjoying those shows. They were really fun to do. But, check them all out, everybody. We always have fun things to say. We like to do fun things here on the show as well, too.
We're fun guys.
We're fun guys. So, obviously we got a little bit of Metallica that we talked about.
Yeah.
Alison, do you have any song off Kill 'Em All that you think would be fun to play here on the good old pound?
Off Kill 'Em All. How about Phantom Lord?
Ooh, Phantom Lord, everybody. Because I'm pretty sure it was a Phantom Lord when our boy Dave Mustaine got kicked out and tore on a bus. And he had to watch Deadly Spawn all by him lonesome. Going on that.
That's sad.
Sad, man. It's okay, though. It worked himself out at the end.
Did it? Worked out for the best.
Yes, it did. But everybody, Jay Allison, James Kline, we will see you here next week on the Retro Blood.
See you guys.